And I'm 8 years removed from drinks and drugs and live a pretty clean lifestyle, and I go to a therapist and I do all the things that I need to do to stay healthy. But from my own experience, no matter what, there's still those feelings that I couldn't really control, that fight or flight, that responding to certain situations, hearing a certain person's voice, whatever it was. And so I sat down with Dr. Cowan and started going over the stuff, and lo and behold, man, it's pretty creepy. I sleep pretty good through the night.
Creepy in a good way, right?
Creepy in a good way, and sleep pretty good through the night, and that constant fight or flight has pretty much been dissipated to non-existence. So I wanted to personally introduce him, and he's actually has his own practice, but what his mission is to get out to the facilities and help the providers become providers in-house. And he's got a whole curriculum. He helps them on board, train the staff, and we're actually going to be doing it here. And so I wanted to get him introduced to you guys.
Thanks. Thank you, man. Thanks. Saad, are you recording this here? No. Okay. No, that's all right. Hi. I'm Dr. Doug. I wish I knew you all, but I really don't. So, is there anybody else here on Medicare besides me? Pretty soon. So I'm alone. Yeah. So I'm old, and I've been doing this mental health, helping other people through the mental health profession for a long time. I got licensed and got my doctorate 35 years ago. It's a long time ago. And I figure I have had maybe 30,000 one-on-one sessions with people for some reason, for something. Counseling or peak performance training or whatever, about 30,000 sessions. And I got introduced to the world of neurofeedback about 30 years ago. How many of you are younger than 30 years old, right? Yeah, so I'm old. I was in a CHAD meeting. My expertise used to be in attention deficit disorder back in the day when there were exactly 2 books published on ADHD in the whole world. And I ran CHAD groups, support groups for parents of ADD kids, and tried to teach. I talked to doctors about medications and so on, and that was my thing. And I was at a psychiatric hospital. I used to run half a psych hospital. And we had about 100 parents in the room. And as I gave my speech on whatever it was, whatever, medications or whatever, to the parents, one of the parents asked me, what do you know about brainwave biofeedback training for the treatment of ADHD that was on TV last night out of Los Angeles? And I said, this is my story. I said, it doesn't work. And this lady said, how do you know it doesn't work? And I said, because I know everything there is to know about treating ADHD, and I don't know anything about that, so it doesn't work. And she said something that was a fabulous thing for somebody to say to me. She said, Doug, we love you, but your ignorance of a subject does not make you an expert in that subject. So it was very valuable in my life to hear that. And I said, I'm an idiot. And I called the guy the next day who was on TV and said, hi, I'm Doug, I'm an idiot. Can you help me? Siegfried Offmer was in Los Angeles. He said, come down for lunch. So I met him for lunch. He and his wife, Susan, exploded the field of neurofeedback. And he helped me out. And so he put me through a training program with 200 of my closest friends. And we were rolling. This is back 30 years ago. Using neurofeedback, where your brain gets wired up, we acquire your brainwave activity, and through a game or through some kind of feedback, you see what your brain's doing, and then you learn how to change and control your own brainwave activity. And then a couple of years later, I got involved in a research project with something that would be called direct neurofeedback, where you are taken out of the loop, because in traditional neurofeedback, it requires 10, 15, 20 hours just to figure out what you're doing and learn how to change and control it, another 10 or 15 hours to drive it to where you want it to go. So very powerful, takes a long time. So direct neurofeedback cuts the patient out of that. There's no learning involved. There's no operant learning. We wire up your brain, and your brain talks to my computer that talks right back to your brain with a very small pulse of energy. It changes the brain. So that was years ago. So as I was thinking about this, all right, I'm at that place in my life where when you read about human development, I'm in the stage, the last stage, where it says generativity. You want to take what you know and tell it to other people. So I was thinking about the future of mental health treatment, the future. From my point of view, having been in the field professionally for 35 years, both inpatient, outpatient, ministry for several years, what does it look like? So is there a place for psychedelics? Yeah, and ketamine is here to stay. And it helps a lot of people who are in a very difficult place. Brain hacks like hypnotherapy help a lot of people. I call them brain hacks because they're things you can do. You don't have to buy equipment for it. You don't have to. EMDR is a brain hack. Tapping is a brain hack. There are things that our clients, our patients can learn to do, and it can change their life. So as I look down the road to treatment programs of the future, I think they're going to involve some of the things, or all of the things that we do with our athletes now. That's Generation 4 neurofeedback, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about in a little bit more detail. That's traditional neurofeedback. That's things like cranial electrical stimulation devices. Any of you use those CES units? They're great for what it is that you do every day for your clients. They're great. CES technology. There'll be things like hyperbaric chambers and cold plunges to sort of reset the brain from that point of view and to heal the brain, bring healing to the brain. Be things like really good nutritional support for the human brain. When somebody is drinking, when somebody's using drugs, when somebody has PTSD, when somebody's brain is working at 100 miles an hour, they're burning up the warehouse of nutritional stores in their brain. It has to be replaced. So simple things from fish oils all the way up to other kinds of amino acids are great. I love a company called Natural Stacks. They use Eric Braverman's work as a model for fixing the brain, getting more serotonin, dopamine, acetylcholine, GABA, whatever it is you need in the brain, they have the precursors for that. I love things from Daniel Amen. We can help the brain to work better from the nutritional point of view, the way people eat and so on. And many of you are into that. There are near-infrared technologies that are wearables, things like the Mendi, that with near-infrared technology, it can tell you how much blood, oxygenated blood you have in the front part of your brain. And you can learn by playing a simple game on your cell phone how to get more blood in the front part of your brain. That you can learn how to do the same thing Ritalin does, or Adderall. You can learn how to do it without having to take anything. And there are other wearables. I just saw one yesterday that is a whole head device. The future is wearables, not things that are inserted into your brain. Sorry, Elon. That's going to help 100 people a year, where the wearables of any type, that kind of treatment, are going to help millions of people a year. So I see those things in the future, and would love to talk with you in your facility about moving from wherever you are now to there. When I did my 30,000 sessions, man, I made it a point not to just repeat my first session where I was just starting off and didn't know anything 30,000 times, but that each week I'd be better than I was the week before. That's just really important in what it is that we do, that we keep getting better and better. So direct neurofeedback, fourth generation is what I call it, of neurofeedback. First generation were alpha theta work with guys like Gene Peniston back at the Menninger Foundation. And then Siegfried and Susan Othmer blew it up, and we could use neurofeedback now from athletes to ADD kids, anxiety disorders, it just took a long time, which was great when I was in practice and people were paying me cash. You know, they're job security. They're coming for a long time. And then the next generation was cutting the person out of the loop so that the stimulation changed the brain. And this is the work of Len Oakes. You'll see it, it's just a different branch of the neurofeedback world. And so now the fourth generation is what we call direct neurofeedback. Low energy neurofeedback, microcurrent neurofeedback, direct neurofeedback. And in typically one session, a person will notice a change. In typically one session, a person's anxiety will be turned off. One. Sometimes as fast, I've seen it as fast as 4 seconds. Now the brain wants to go back to where it was working, so the benefits typically last a couple of days, then we do another session. And then they last a little bit longer, we do another session. With an anxiety disorder, by 10 sessions perhaps, it's just a thing of the past. Things where the brain's dented, it takes longer. So my client who went through the windshield of a car and laid in the snow for 8 hours, and the doctors just wanted to pull the plug and tell his parents he's dead, when I saw him a year after his accident, we rebuilt his brain, but it took like 100 sessions. But it's the only thing I know that can help heal concussions and traumatic brain injury. So for NFL players that retire, this will help them to not die by drooling out of the side of their mouth when they get in their 50s or 60s. And many of the people you work with, how many? You figured it out. How many of the people you work with when you do your intake, it says auto accident, head trauma, stroke, seizure disorders, or whatever, and because their brain is fragile, they drink or use drugs. And take a healthy brain and somebody who's drinking and using drugs, now they have a damaged brain, right? So either way, everybody you work with in your room would be a population that I might work with in my practice back in the day. So now where I'm at, who does it work for? I wrote this down because I'm on Medicare. I'm on Medicare. And I had to write things down because I couldn't trust myself to remember them, but I wrote it so small it's really hard to read. Anxiety disorders respond really fast to direct neurofeedback. Depression, PTSD, ADHD, head trauma of any kind. In fact, the big study right now is 180 veterans down at UC San Diego that the Veterans Administration wrote a $15 million check for. Dr. Wong's doing super cool MEG studies of brain patterns. And they're using this exact technology that we use, this direct neurofeedback. The Veterans Administration right now has a purchase order for 180 units for this technology. As soon as Wong publishes a study this summer, they're going for it. They're just going for it. So concussions, head trauma, concussive blasts from veterans, PTSD from combat even. Anything that's going on inside a person's skull, this can help treat. Unless it's a demyelination has already taken place, we're not going to rewrap nerve cells. But anything that's just a functional issue inside somebody's skull, you want to explore this to help your clients. And to the extent that people are using substances because they have underlying anxiety or depression, this would be a fabulous piece of the puzzle for what it is you're doing. It does not replace a caring, wise, discerning therapist at all, but it's really good even just on its own. And we believe it can take the worst therapist in Arizona and make them pretty good. It's that powerful of a technology. So it works on the parasympathetic nervous system and just turns off the whole fight or flight system. Does a great job for that. So our little call to action, if you would like us to kind of consult with you about what you could do as you move into the future, let us know. We have sign-up sheets down here, or just hand us your business cards. We'll connect with you. We'd like to offer you a video or two about the direct neurofeedback so you could see, would this be something we could put into our practice? We'd like to know. And then if you want to talk to me one-on-one, we'll set up an hour-long Zoom call, or you can take me to lunch if you pay for it, and we'll just talk for an hour about how I use it in my practice for years and years and years, and how other clinicians use it in their practice. And then if you want to move one step forward, I'll do a demonstration for you and your clinical staff. I'll come to your place, you come to my place, and I'll show you how it works. Let you get wired up, let you try it. So anyway, it's called direct neurofeedback, and we are Calm Waves. And thank you.